Welcome back, golfers. Today we're going to talk about an aspect of your game that could be plaguing you and be causing early release, early extension, poor posture, poor balance, poor weight transfer, all these aspects and a whole bunch more. So stick around so you can get that help you need. So today we're going to talk about our knees. And our knees are one of those areas you don't really think too much about. I talk a lot about how the footwork works, and that's feet to hips, and our knees are right in the middle, and they're a huge aspect of how we transfer energy back, how we transition energy, and how we derive energy through the golf ball. And we need our knees working in a way that is athletic. It needs to be in an athletic motion so that we can get as much out of it as we want to put into our golf shots. We want to get as much out of it to put ourselves in a position to make it so our golf swings are fluid and easy and powerful to make. We don't want to be struggling. If you watch yourself on video, which I'm sure a lot of you have, and you might be putting yourselves in weird positions, and it could be because of the direction your knees are going. So knees set direction. Let me say that again. The knees set direction. So at the beginning of the golf swing, if I'm setting up to a golf ball, I'm setting my body lines parallel to my swing path. And that's my toes, my knees, my hips, my shoulders. So that's all setting in the direction where I want to hit my golf shot. So that's number one, setup. Now as we take our backswing, our knees are going to open up, our hips are going to work back. We're going to maintain our hip position as we rotate, creating a good load into our backswing. Now as we set that load to the top, now we start our downswing or our transition. And our transition to our golf swing, which we've talked about before, is our weight going from our load and our trail foot back to center, where it was originally in our setup. So however long that takes you, that's how long your transition is. The beginning of the transition and the bottom of the transition. So for most tour pros, you would see their transition happen very quickly. Right there, knees are squared up, weight's even, knees are squared up to the target, hands are way up here, and now we can start releasing the club. So beginning of the transition, bottom of the transition, now the release and the drive towards our target. And that's important. So that's a big important part of what we're going to talk about today, is that transitional move from the top and moving it down into the bottom of the transition. And that is the big part of where knees set direction. So if we look at this, as we take it into the backswing, set, knees are open, transition, knees are squared to the target. I have not made any changes from the shoulder across. So the hands are moving, but this structure is maintaining through that transition. So when most golfers get this wrong is they've released before their knees have set direction. If you think of this of like throwing a ball, if I'm standing here and I'm going to throw a ball, I'm going to step and then I'm going to release. And you can see when I made that step, my knees squared up. Now I'm going to make my release, so now that's setting direction. You'd be a really bad pitcher if you stepped, or if your knees were going over here before you started releasing, because you're going to be going, your body's going in the wrong direction. And we want to make sure our body's weight is set in the right direction, because as soon as you start putting energy and transitional power through that release, it's creating a direction of energy. And if you do it too soon, which is most golfers out there, you do it too soon, the knees are aiming over here. Well, now your directional energy is out in front of you going that direction. And that's why a lot of you start putting weight into that lead foot, that lead toe box. When you finish, you're up here on your toes, because you've released too soon. You haven't set direction with the lower body, with your foundation, with your knees, before you've started the release of the energy from the top. So golfers is an important aspect. The load in your golf swing is at the top of the swing. We're in our load. That's where we're gonna store energy. Now we're not done. We're gonna continue building up energy through our transition. As we transition to the bottom of the transition, we're building up energy, not starting to release energy yet. Now that we've built up energy into our bottom of our transition, now we can release energy towards the target, allowing our knees to square up to where we're going and set direction so that our knees can continue driving towards the target. So a lot of you get the knees going pretty much the right direction on the backswing. They're gonna turn away. It's gonna allow our hips to open up, allow us to create that turn, that load into the backswing. We don't wanna see the sway. We wanna get that good turn, hip working back. As you're coming through though, this is where we kind of lose the movements that we want in our hips. We want to maintain hip tilt. It needs to stay tilted down. As we start moving now, I don't want our target to become the golf ball. I want our target to be that target out there where the flag is or where the fairway is. So if our knees start moving towards the golf ball, you can see my knee, one knee's going that way, the other one's kind of getting stuck. And my knee's now moving that way, and that's putting me into early extensions, changing my spine angle. And that's gonna make it harder for me to get good contact, create good balance, and it's gonna make it hard to find the golf ball in the center of the face consistently. So what we wanna have happen is we maintain hip tilt and we twist into that transitional move. It's a rotation. You should feel weight into that lead heel. You should feel weight into that lead heel, into that first move. So I can pick up that lead toe. And the reason why we want to do this is to help with counterbalance of our golf swing. Our center of our balance is right here in our arches, works up vertically. The only thing behind that line while we're swinging is our core, abs, glutes, and hips, which is good because it's a strong part of our body. But we need to be able to counterbalance that transition as we start driving so that it's utilizing our weights working back behind us so we can continue to rotate and maintain our posture through the golf swing. So as we drive through, what we want to see is those knees square up, our lead knees start to open up, our trail knees start to work inward, which is going to get our shoelaces to start working in, and then our knees are going to come and together as we come through. And there's a really good drill we can do with to help with our knee movement, and that's just grab a alignment stick, stick it on your toe line, grab a second one, and you put it right up to the point of our lead kneecap, and you're going to shove it into the ground. So it'll be right there, and then we're going to shove it into the ground. And it's going to be vertically straight up and down, just like that, down our toe path. And when we're swinging, what we want to do is make sure that our knees aren't hitting that alignment sticks on the backswing, because then our knees are going the wrong direction on the backswing, or on the follow through, because you can see that put me into early extension right away. So we want to keep our knee movement working inside that alignment stick, and that's going to allow our knees to keep going directionally towards our target. So if you guys stuck around this long, I'm going to take you through a series of movements that will help train your knees to go the direction you need them to go, which is at your target early in the motion through the transition. And the first one we're going to do is one part of my at-home drills. I'll put that link in the corner. First drill will be an arm bar drill. So we're going to take our lead arm, we're going to put it across our body, we're going to hook it with our under our trail elbow, go into that position. We're going to get into our posture. You can do this with a chair on your butt, that really helps. And then we're going to take it into our backswing, and then we're just going to practice getting those knees to square up. Right there, back and forth. Just trying to get those knees to square up in through the transition. It should feel like when you're doing this, you're basically getting into a guarding position at the bottom of into the bottom of your transition. There's your guarding position right there each time, and you'll feel what muscles should be moving in that transitional motion. Should be feeling that inside part of the abdomen, keeping that hip tilt down, keeping the butt back, keeping the posture through that motion into a position where if I was gonna jump, I could jump. If you're looking at me from this position, I've counterbalanced my weight through my lower body. So if I'm gonna jump, I'm gonna jump straight up. It's not gonna look like I'm in this position where it would look like I'm gonna jump forward. We don't wanna be in that position. That'd be drill number one to get you starting the feeling of getting those knees to square up earlier. And when you're doing that, you can see my knees don't go together, they go wide. They actually widen out. So now that we've established the feeling of how to move the body, allowing the lower body to initiate the first transitional move, not the arms to do it. Now we're gonna get into the second part. And what this is a step drill. So what I want you to do is get set up to the ball, bring your lead foot to your trail foot. You're gonna take it back. So you take it back into the backswing, we're gonna step, and then we're gonna feel the swing. So the trick to this is when we take the step, it's squaring up the knees. It's getting the knees to set direction, and then we should initiate the movement with the release. And this is an important one to get down, and it's kind of a fun one to hit balls with. So feet together, get set up, bring your left foot to your right or your lead foot to your trail foot, take it back, step, and then swing. If you're doing this right, it should feel like it flows. If it feels like it kind of gets stuck when you're doing it, well, you're probably stepping too late. Try to feel the step happening before you get into the top of the backswing. Feel like it's happening kind of in the middle of your, at the belly button, mid chest, you should be feeling that step, and don't overstep it. Try to feel like that step hits right about where that foot would have been originally, and then you'll feel the release. So that's drill number two. Try to do that until it feels comfortable, and then we'll move on and progress. All right, drill number three. So I call this the Tom Watson drill or the old school drill, and we're gonna get that same feeling we just did with the step. We're just progressing it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna lift our lead heel off the ground into our backswing. Before you even get to the top of the backswing, I want you to feel like you compress that heel down into the ground right there and squish the left heel, and then feel the release happen after that. So it's lift, squish, swing. And if you do it all together, right there, lift, squish, swing. If you're having trouble with that feeling, what I want you to do is grab a towel, roll it up, and then stick it underneath your lead toe. So it creates a little bit of a platform right there. And when you lift, squish, you'll really feel that you're having to overemphasize that squish, and it'll help counterbalance your body up and around. So it's back, turn, release. And that's gonna get the knees to set direction, hopefully pretty consistently. So progressing with that same idea, I want to keep that towel underneath that left foot or that lead foot. And what we're going to do next is we're going to take it to the top of the golf swing. We're going to pause, and then from there, I want you to initiate that squish of the heel, or heel's not off the ground this time. If you want to leave it and just do how you normally swing with the heel on the ground, that's fine. If you want the heel off the ground, that's totally fine also. But we're going to feel that initial move of squishing that lead heel right there, and then the release coming through it. So that foot on the toe box is going to help with direction, keeping our body moving in the right direction. We're going to go to the top, we're going to totally pause, and then we're going to initiate and then release. And you should feel that squishing of that heel, direction, the body opening up through the lower body, and then moving to that finish. The towel helps with counterbalance doing this. We can hit balls with all these drills. Just make sure you are progressing through these movements. that's all I got for you guys this week. So just make sure that you emphasize the fact that as soon as you start your release of those arms, your knees are already set in the direction you want to go. Because if they're set over there, your weight's gonna start working out in front of you. Whereas if you're here and you start that release, now everything's gonna work in front of you and down towards the target, allowing your body to keep posture and make it much more fluid as you drive through the golf ball. And remember, if your feet aren't working, your swing's not working. Catch you guys next time.